Hey everybody, it's Rebecca Johnson of Supergirl Radio, and I'm getting the live stream started here. This is the unofficial start, just the we're trying to be punctual and starting the stream on the correct time, 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Central for those of us in the Central Time Zone. So I'm just getting this started. We'll get started officially here in a little bit. But if you're watching and you want to hop in the live chat and help me out with something, I would be curious about what people think about a question that I would like to pose people, because I get in arguments with people all the time about this thing, and I want to possibly be proven correct, but I want to hear some feedback. So while I'm waiting on Morgan, I want to pick the live chat's mind about something. Okay, real serious question. If you're going to buy a T-shirt, do you like a design on the front, or do you like a design on the back of the T-shirt? What's your preference? I would be really curious. If you're in the live chat, watching live now, put it in the live chat, front design or back design. I'd really be curious. If you buy a lot of T-shirts, do you mostly get T-shirts that have front designs or back designs? Because here's my justification. This is I this comes up quite a bit with me, because I design T-shirts. I designed several for Supergirl Radio. I've done some for work. I wear T-shirts a lot. And so my thing is that I prefer a design on the front, because I want you to see my design. I want you to see my cool T-shirt that I'm wearing. I don't want to wait until after I've passed you for you then to see my T-shirt. So I am a big firm believer in the front design. I think a back design is somewhat pointless, because nobody's really going to notice it. And to my mom's point, I'm going to give credit to my mom who pointed out, well, what if somebody's wearing a backpack or has something on, maybe even a jacket or something that's covering up the back? You won't be able to see it. So that was a really good point. So I think a front design is best. But I'm open to the arguments for why a back design is something that you're interested in. I would definitely be also interested in that thought process. Please let me know why you think that, if you do. It looks like some people in the chat, Brian says front, CV Cube says front, Mara says front, so I can see it too. That's also a really good point, because I want to be able to look down and see my cool T-shirt, remember what I'm wearing, and be really proud of it. I also, one of the other reasons, in addition to wanting somebody to see your shirt, is that I want you to recognize it. I want you to see that I'm wearing a cool shirt. There have been a couple of times where I've worn a T-shirt where, like, I met a famous person, and I met Hayden, what's her face from Heroes, Kat Calmia, I think, is a big fan. And I met her at Dragon Con one year, and I had a Save the Cheerleader, Save the World shirt. And I went up to her table, and she was like, "Hey, I like your T-shirt." And I was like, "Yeah, no, I wore it just for you." So I want people to see my cool design on the front of my T-shirt. So thank you, live chat, for participating in my small survey, front design versus back design. This is a very academic thing that I'm doing. I'm trying to prove a point to my friends and colleagues that back T-shirt designs are something out of the early 2000s, and people do not wear those anymore. And so, yes, Hayden, however you say her last name, Panettiere. I don't know. She's big on Nashville, I think, after Heroes. I didn't really keep up with her, but I love that Save the World, save the cheerleader, save the world T-shirt. Although at one point they didn't save the cheerleader, so it was kind of pointless. She died, like, off screen. What was the whole point of that? Anyway, okay, so I see Morgan in the backstage area. So Morgan, while we were waiting for your presence to arrive, I was posing the question to the live chat to try to settle a heated debate
Sure.
with people in my life about front T-shirt designs versus back T-shirt designs. So how would you chime in on that?
front all the way, baby. If I'm buying a t-shirt, I want to see what cool stuff I've got on it. What? I don't want the chucklehead behind me enjoying it. What if I want to show somebody the t-shirt? What am I going to do? Back that thing up? Like, no. I want it to be on the front.
I appreciate that feedback and the opinion, which is the correct opinion. So I'm I'm glad to know that I don't know why I keep running into objections to the front design. It's very strange to me because I'm like I wear t-shirts all the time. I'm buying t-shirts constantly. Like I run a T Public store. Like
Like
I
people,
feel like I have
people like them in the front. I don't. Is that in conflict suddenly? Am I old now? Are the youths wearing them on the back?
Apparently, it's the
what's Gen Z doing?
The justification for the back design is to have a pocket on the front, which I think is worse to me, in my opinion. I know we're getting into like real hot takes,
tiny little pockets.
But like, I don't want somebody having to squint to see my design. Like, what does that say? What is happening there? Why is there so much space?
I mean, I guess there are people who like the pockets. I don't think I have a single item of clothing with that little pocket on the front, though. I got to be honest. Like, I veer away from that.
I did in the early 2000s. That was big, in my opinion, in the early 2000s. I don't think that's big anymore. But that's just my approach to t-shirt design. So I just wanted to pick the brains of everybody in the chat.
I did a very scientific poll. And everyone said, you're wrong. I want it on the front.
I want people to see it. I paid money for that thing. I want them to compliment me on my shirt.
Yeah, too. Like, I bought it for a specific reason because I liked the design.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to put it behind me where I never see it. What's the sense of that?
See, for me, it's a kind of a selfish way in a different way. I want somebody to compliment me. I want somebody to be like, "Hey, that's a great T-shirt. Where'd you get it?" Like I want somebody to be like, "Hey, that's so cool." I went into a CVS one time. I had a T-shirt. We're gonna get started here real quick, but because we got a lot of Bones content to cover. But I got this really awesome T-shirt because I'm a big Lost fan. I got a Cookie Monster T-shirt who was in the shape of the smoke monster.
Oh my God.
So Cookie Monster was the smoke monster. And I thought that was the coolest thing. It combined my love for Lost and my love for Muppets and Sesame Street. And you had to know what it was to make the connection. Because like Cookie Monster, smoke monster.
That's so good.
It was cerebral. And then one time I went to a CVS and somebody was like, "Hey, that's a cool T-shirt." And I was like, "Oh, he got it. He understood what it meant."
That's how you can like make friends out in the wild. Like, do they get your really obscure reference T-shirt? Obviously, friendship shall commence.
Are we friends now? Did we just become best friends?
Best friends? Exactly. I think that's like a solid way to make new friends as adults.
Anyway, so thank you all for participating in that very scientific poll that I'll be using as ammunition for my arguments in the future. So thank you all for your feedback and your input. And let's go ahead and officially get started because we got to take a journey with a character named Mr. Bones. So we're going to get into it. So hang out with us and we'll get officially started here in a second.
Lezalar's downfall is just that eyebrow twitch that she can't help doing. Could you imagine if Hope was like, "Let's add that to the PowerPoint"? Excuse me?
What year is it?
How old am I? This is how a podcast breaks up.
This is the last episode of Supergirl Radio. You want a Kryptonian? You got one.
Is it a movie about saving Argo? The answer to that one is no. It's called Witch for a Summer! ! Where does she want to go? Ask her. Talk to her. Really commune with flat Supergirl.
Did we set the bar too high or too low?
I think we set the bar real medium.
You're doing an intensely adequate podcast.
Good.
Hi, I'm Elizabeth Noyce, and you're listening to Supergirl Radio.
McGurk! I love
Not
typing.
mess with my Google Docs, Meeksy.
Supergirl Radio is going live every night of the week. How do you like it? Is becoming a human burrito a plus or a minus? I don't know. It does seem snug.
I mean, they say you are what you eat.
Kira.
I love that.
So I do a podcast called Supergirl Radio, and one of our segments is Lena Luthor, Boardroom or Ballroom, because
She looks like a boss in this coat.
Nasty Luthor like a different Luthor? It's not just Lena being mean?
No.
Helen Slater here. So fun to know that you're hosting a podcast called Supergirl Radio.
Welcome to Supergirl Radio, your source for all things related to the CW Supergirl TV series and the character of Kara Zor-El. My name is Rebecca Johnson.
I'm Morgan Glennon.
And for this episode of the podcast, we are live and wired on the Supergirl Radio Facebook page and the DC TV Podcast YouTube channel to shine a spotlight on Mr. Bones, a supervillain with Helix who eventually becomes director of the DEO. Now, we've talked about Mr. Bones quite a bit on Supergirl Radio.
We sure have.
He was never on the Supergirl TV series, but we've talked about him anyway because he should have been.
In our hearts, though. In our hearts. Wasn't he a major character?
He should have been, since he did serve as director of the DEO, and the Supergirl TV series did have the DEO on for 5 seasons and changed directors a lot. They could have had
5
one in
whole
there.
seasons, and there were so many directors, and none of them were skeletons. How
Not
dare
a single
you
one.
show?
So even though he was not on the Supergirl TV series, he has actually interacted with Supergirl in the Supergirl Rebirth issues. So there's a connection to Supergirl to be made. Plus, we just really love talking about Mr. Bones. And we are going to be talking about him in this episode of Supergirl Radio because he's going to make his first appearance in live action on the Stargirl Season 3 episodes. Not exactly sure what his presence is going to be, but he did show up in the Season 2 finale. There was mention of Helix, so it seems like he's going to have some presence in Season 3 of Stargirl. So before Stargirl Season 3 starts up, we are going to just let everybody know about his history. And in order to prevent us from repeating ourselves, because we have talked about him as director of the DEO, we have talked about him in his connection with Supergirl. So we don't want to just repeat and regurgitate everything. You could go listen to those. Listen to those episodes. We've done character spotlight on the DEO. We've done Supergirl Radio Rebirth reviews. So you can go and listen to those things. They're linked in the video description below, and they'll be in the audio podcast show notes. But since we've already talked about that section of Bones' history, the thing that we really haven't gotten into is his origin story and his first big storyline. And since he is going to be connected to Helix on Stargirl, we thought we would dive into the Helix aspect of his character. So you can also find him in the New 52, Infinite Frontier, and even the Smallville Season 11 comics. So if you wanted to go further, you could check those out and read those for yourself. But for this character spotlight, we're just going to really focus on where Mr. Bones came from. What's his story? What's his journey? How does he figure out who he is and who he wants to be? Really, who is Bones? We're gonna find out.
We want to, if you will, we want to peel back the surface, and perhaps that's already been done, and see who is a Mr. Bones.
Yes. So we are going to go into this. I'm interested to hear Morgan's take on this because some of this, I just want to prepare everybody because I've read through all these issues. There are some funny moments, but there's also some really heartbreaking moments and some really like emotional beats. So really, if you have tissues nearby, you might want to grab them. It's going to be really difficult. We're going to have to get through some of these things together, but I think it's going to be worth it. By the end, I don't want to hype it up too much, but this is going to be all about Mr. Bones in this spotlight. So to start off with, we're going to talk about how he was created. So he was created by Roy Thomas, Dan Thomas, and Todd McFarlane. His first appearance was in Infinity Inc. number 16. So that is the first time he pops up in the comics, and that's actually also going to be the start of a big storyline for him. So he's gonna show up in number 16, and he will be in an Infinity Inc. for a while. And I've been told by Wikipedia that his alter ego is Robert Todd. I could not find any verification on that was his name. So I'm going to have to keep digging into Mr. Bones' history to find out if that is true or not. But that's what Wikipedia tells me, that his
mysterious already
that his name is Robert Todd. So we have a confirmation that he has a name other than Mr. Bones. Of course, he also goes by Director Bones because he becomes director of the DEO, the Department of Extra Normal Operations. He's been part of the DEO, but also part of the Global Peace Agency, Helix, Checkmate, and Infinity Inc. So we're going to talk about a couple of those groups in this episode. And just so you know, his superpowers include not only just his very famous cyanide touch or cyanide sweat because his skin exudes a cyanide compound that will kill people if he touches them. He also has superhuman strength and endurance. That's going to be really important in this run throughout Helix and the Infinity Inc. issues. And he also, the kind of the more visual aspect of Mr. Bones that's important to know is that he has invisible skin. So he has all of the parts that we all have. You just can see through his flesh into his bones. So he has invisible skin and internal organs. So that's really important to know about Mr. Bones because he looks like a skull man, a skeleton man, but he actually does have flesh and skin. They're just invisible. Okay, so before we actually get into the story of Mr. Bones and learn about him specifically, we got to back up a little bit because we need to get to know the members of Infinity Inc. So this is a superhero team in DC Comics.
I'm sorry. They've been incorporated by the U.S. government? Or?
Yeah, they are incorporated.
What if it was like Infinity LLC?
So this is Infinity Inc. And basically, if you want to think about it this way, these are all the kids in some way of other superheroes. So this is kind of like the kid team.
So this is like that Disney Channel like Descendants thing where they're all the children of villains, but they're like the children of heroes.
Kind of like that. So if it helps to think about like the Teen Titans or the Titans as sidekicks of the heroes, Infinity Inc. are the kids of all of the famous heroes that we may have heard of. And these, I believe, largely happen in Earth 2 storylines and continuity. So Infinity Inc. members are also known as Infinitors. So if you hear us reference Infinitors, that's the teammates of Infinity Inc. And these people are going to be playing heavily into Mr. Bones' introduction into DC Comics. So it's probably good that we get to know them now so that when we reference them in the mini issues that we're going to talk about, you're going to know exactly who these people are. Okay, so to start off with, the probably the biggest, most well-known one that you're going to recognize the parents of, Fury is Lyda, or is her, kind of, I don't want to say real name, but Fury is her superhero name. And Lyda or Lita, I don't know, it's supposed to be named after Hippolyta, but when I was reading in my head, I would say Lyta. But she is the daughter of Wonder Woman and Steve Trevor. So if you didn't know, Wonder Woman and Steve Trevor had a kid, and she became a superhero named Fury. The next one down is Silver Scarab, who also goes by Hector Hall is his real name. He's the son of Carter Hall and Shira Sanders Hall, who you may know as Hawkman and Hawkgirl. There's
Okay.
Northwind, who his real name is Norda Cantrell, who is the godson of Hawkman and Hawkgirl. So really, Hawkman and Hawkgirl have a lot of presence with Infinity Inc., very influential to this team. Jade is also known as Jennifer Lynn Hayden, who is the daughter of Green Lantern Alan Scott. And Jade has a twin brother, Obsidian, whose name is Todd James Rice, who is also the son of Green Lantern Alan Scott. And then there's Brainwave Jr., who comes into a couple of these stories. His name is Henry King. Is that right? I don't know that I've
yeah,
Henry
I think so.
Henry King.
Because
Jr.
I've been
just-
catching up on Stargirl in preparation for I'm sorry, Mr. Bones again. He hasn't gotten that promotion. So yeah, he was RIP. He was a character in the first season, so it was Henry.
Yeah, I think I wrote his name down incorrectly. Let me make sure I get that correct. Let me make sure. Henry King. I think I put King Henry. He's not a king. Henry King Jr., who is the son of Brainwave, so that's why he's Brainwave Jr. And then to round out the team, we're going to talk about Nuklon, who is the godson of Al Pratt, who was the original, the Golden Age Atom. So that's the Infinity Inc. team, the Infinitors that we're going to talk about, because Mr. Bones is going to have a lot of interaction with these people. And to Morgan's point, if you have watched some of the Stargirl TV series, some of these names are going to be familiar to you. So I was joking with John M. Wilson, who is from John Breed's Comics, a friend of the podcast, that Stargirl really should just be called Infinity Inc. Because a lot of these characters in these storylines are from the Infinity Inc. issues. So I guess the best way to start this is just to dive in. We know the main big players here. So let's get into the first issue. So this is Mr. Bones' first appearance in DC Comics. So his journey begins with Infinity Inc. number 16 in an issue titled "They Call Him Mr. Bones!" ! In this story, Lyda and Hector are celebrating their engagement. They've gotten engaged, they're going to get married, and they're celebrating their engagement with their Infinity Inc. friends, like you would. You throw a party, everybody comes over. Some of these friends are Star Spangled Kid. We didn't really talk about him, but Star Spangled Kid will also be a big part at the end of our story with Mr. Bones. This is where the real drama comes in with Star Spangled Kid. He will also get a name change. You might also know from the Stargirl TV series that he might go by the name Starman. So that's that character. So Star Spangled Kid comes over. Jade, Northwind, Obsidian, Nuklon, all these friends are here at the engagement party. So they're like playing beach volleyball. They're hanging out. They're having a great time. You know, it's I think it's shirts versus skins at one point.
Top Gun style.
So they're all having a really good time at this engagement party. Everything is going great. Everyone is having a great time. Well, Ted Grant comes by. You might know him as the superhero Wildcat, and he delivers an engagement present from Paradise Island. So you might know who that might be from. And Lyda, who is the daughter of Wonder Woman and Steve Trevor, opens this gift, revealing two baby Kangas. And one of them is white.
What they're supposed to be?
Yes, these are Kangas, which I think are different than kangaroos. Somebody
Yeah,
fact check me on that.
Are they different from kangaroos? Because those little faces don't look like kangaroos.
Someone let us know in the comments what the difference is between a kanga and a kangaroo, if there is one. Let's really get
is
that
a kanga
information.
a real creature? Because I want to say that I Google image searched it, and all I found was images from Winnie the Pooh.
Oh,
So
interesting. So
that raises some questions.
So whatever these little guys are, these are two baby kangas, and it's important to mention that one is white and one is black, because they're different kangas, and they're incredibly rare because non-gray baby kangas are rare, and they will They will come back into play, but please be prepared for a little heartache with these Kangas.
No.
So I just wanted to mention them as they come into the story with Ted Grant. So at the engagement party, let's see. So at the engagement party, the beach volleyball match that's been going great eventually goes south. And Lyda and Heck, who are engaged, they get into a really big fight. And of course, nobody wants to hang around at an engagement party when the couple you're celebrating is having a big fight. Everybody's like, "Oh, this is maybe a little dramatic, and I don't feel like I should be part of this." So everybody leaves. Everybody goes home, and so Lyda ends up being there by herself because Heck goes off, and everybody's just. Why would you stay at a party when the engaged couple is seemingly breaking up? So it is a little awkward. So Lyda's left at home all alone. And while she's there, Lyda gets a surprise visitor who enters saying, and this is a direct quote from the comic, "Mr. Bones is the name, kicking ass is my game. And if you make me prove it, you've only your pretty self to blame."
So rhymes.
Yes.
He starts a rap battle as soon as he walks in.
So Mr. Bones comes in, and the first thing he does is rhyme. And apparently this is a big thing for him. I'm not sure why Mr. Bones needs to rhyme, but this is a very very important part of his character. You will see as you read through these issues, that's his big thing. Other characters comment on it about how irritated they are about how he rhymes everything. And so if you didn't know, Mr. Bones loves a good, I don't know, limerick, a rhyming word. But it is a big thing for his character, and he does it often.
It is part of his process. Now,
Yes.
apparently my lack of knowledge about Kangas has become a little bit of a sticking point in the comics, in the comments, also the comics, because Rachel said, "Doesn't Wonder Woman have a pet Kanga?" ?
Yes. So Wonder Woman is associated with Kangas, but I think the question is, are Kangas real?
Are Kangas out of the comics? Can you find one? That's my question. Brian says, "Yeah, didn't the Kangas come up in the DC Super Pets special a few weeks ago?" They did. I just don't know if they're a real thing.
Can you see a Kanga in a zoo?
If you're in Australia, are you going to bump into a Kanga or not?
So that is the question we're trying to grapple with. So someone let us know if Kangas are maybe they're just a subspecies of kangaroos. We don't know. That's what we're trying to find out. But yes, Kangas are something, are animals that are associated largely with Wonder Woman. All right, continuing into our journey. So Mr. Bones has shown up at Lyda's house. He's delivering rhymes. And he has done this because he's appeared to kidnap. He wants to kidnap Hector to get a ransom from Hector's father, Carter Hall, Hawkman. But since Lyda is the only one left at the house, Bones is just going to have to settle for her. So Mr. Bones and Lyda get into a big fight. Everybody fights in all these Infinity Inc. issues. They're fighting all the time. Doesn't matter what it's over. Everybody has a fight. But so this is the first fight we're going to see in these issues. So Mr. Bones and Lyda get into a big fight. And while they are scuffling, Lyda notices that she can feel an invisible face over Mr. Bones' skull, and that his features show perfectly normal when they're outlined in the sand outside the house. So this is something she's picking up about this sort of skeleton-looking man who appears out of nowhere inside her house. Then Lyda, after they've had this scuffle, Lyda thinks she has defeated Mr. Bones and starts to call the police because, I mean, wouldn't you if you saw a skeleton man come in to kidnap you? But Mr. Bones pops up to ask, "Did you really think your sticks and stones would put the lid on Mr. Bones?" So
Stick rhyme.
So Mr. Bones is sort of fighting back as she calls the police. And when this is happening, in defense of Lyda, her new pet Kanga pets jump in to bite Mr. Bones's glove, which, if you know anything about his cyanide touch, this is a very dangerous move when Mr. Bones's glove comes off. The white Kanga pulls one of Bones's gloves off, leaving his bare skeleton hand revealed. When the black Kanga bites Bones's hand, it dies a tragic death due to the cyanide touch. So this is a really tragic event in this first issue. You can't tell just in the static images, but if you read it in the digital version where it's got the guided view, the face of the white Kanga who's seeing its Kanga friend or Kanga brother lying dead, it kind of pops up by itself, and it's the saddest looking face.
It's so sad. The white Kanga is so sad. I also think it's in this comic like panel, Lyda is like really angry and she's like, you killed it. It's just this little animal. And he's like, well, I didn't mean to. So already Mr. Bones is like, listen, I'm just evil. I just want to kidnap some people. I want to drop some sick rhymes. I wasn't meaning to kill the little creature, though. That was just my crazy sweat. I'm sorry. It's harder on me than it is on you. Believe me.
I may look like a skeleton, but I'm not a monster. This was a total accident. So, continuing on after our sad situation with the baby Kangas there. Hector returns to the house after he's kind of cooled off. He discovers that something has happened to Lyda. He discovers a Polaroid picture of Mr. Bones holding Lyda by the hair with a note on the back reading, quote, "Don't call the fuzz. Just cool your feet. Don't tell a soul or she's dead meat," unquote. So Bones signed the photo. This is how he refers to himself. He signs the photo, Mr. Bones, head honcho of Helix. So that is the first issue of Mr. Bones. There at the end, there's a panel that says, "What the hell is Helix?" a question mark, and it's written on top of a bone. So that's his first appearance in comics.
Okay, first off, loving Mr. Bones' energy, but does he at all seem a little try hard in this issue? Mr. Bones is giving me, and I say this with love, big theater kid energy, right? Like he's walking in, he's rhyming. He's rhyming right away. He's like putting on a performance. And then he gives himself like a title as he's leaving. He's like, "I'm a head honcho." He
autographed it.
He autographed it. He's like, "For my fans."
He's a theater kid who autographed a picture for.
He just needs to take it down a notch, okay? People are going to like you for you, Mr. Bones. You don't have to put on a performance all the time.
He is really showy. He makes a big entrance into Lyda's house, and it really causes some trouble. So that is his first appearance. In his first appearance, he murders a baby Kanga, and then kidnaps Wonder Woman and Steve Trevor's daughter. So that's a pretty big big move for him.
He's making a splash.
So when he said in, I think it was Rebirth, that he was like the greatest villain, he framed a picture of himself on the wall. I mean,
killing that little baby
sort of living up to the hype.
Evil. That is evil, Mr. Bones. Even though, to be fair, as he says, he didn't really mean to do that. That was kind of his medical condition, but okay. He's like, "I'll take credit for me if it gets me in the funny papers."
I mean, it was really the Kanga's fault. Let's blame the Kanga for ripping the glove off. That was really not his fault. So, that's not the last time though that we will see the glove come off and something tragic happen in the meantime. So that is his first appearance. So Morgan, will you take us through Infinity Inc. number 17?
Oh yeah. So this is we're back in this. We're back in the story. In a story titled Home Sweet Helix, Lyda finds herself waking up in a new house. This time at Casa de Helix, where she's introduced to Penny Dreadful, Arak, aka Windwalker, who can conjure up weather out of nowhere. Tao Jones, that's spelled T-A-O, not D-O-W. So I guess it's pronounced Dow.
Yeah, they make that very clear in the issue.
Ah, okay. Mm-hmm. And she can levitate. Baby Boom, whose powers are unknown. And Critter, a dog that wears eyeglasses and a suit tie, who's also a first-class computer hacker.
Yeah.
Okay, wow. A lot happening.
Yeah, we can
here.
stop down if you have questions or thoughts.
Yeah.
We can break it.
Okay. Yeah. I guess if I'm being honest, I have some questions about Critter.
Okay.
Why the tie? I guess. Is his vision bad from looking at the computer all day? How is he typing? Because I have animals and they don't have opposable thumbs so much. I mean, like I don't. If I put like Beaker's hands on the keyboard, he couldn't like that's a human hand on that dog, and so it's giving me like a little bit of an uncanny valley situation where like something is just wrong.
Okay, I'm trying to because they don't really go into Critter's origin story. He does sort of look like a like a human dog hybrid character,
He does.
but I don't know that I know if he actually is some like half a human. Like I don't know that. It's never specifically said.
I have a lot of questions about Critter.
But Critter is a dog wearing eyeglasses, a tie, and is a great computer hacker. So that's
Well,
just really all you need to know about Critter.
I mean, I'm sure he's a very good bad boy.
Yes.
So, Mr. Bones explains to Lyta that she's being held as a ransom because Helix has a bit of a cash flow problem. Shocking that the organization that's helmed up by a dog typing on a computer has maybe squandered some of its wealth. Mr. Bones is like, listen, we tried like a lemonade stand and like we put up a GoFundMe, nobody donated. What are we supposed to do? So Helix contacts Heck to bring them 100 grand and come to their location. When Heck arrives, he encounters Baby Boom, power still kind of unknown, Critter, and the rest of Helix. So after they all fight at the end of the issue, Mr. Bones decides they're going to Los Angeles to take what they want. Again, I'm going to go back to really like his primary goal is to go to Los Angeles. Mr. Bones is a theater kid. He's like, finally, I'm going to get that audition I've been waiting for.
Going to LA, that's what our dreams are made of in Hollywood.
Okay, so the most important part of this issue is that Lyta takes note that Mr. Bones has traded in his corny rhymes for a cigarette cough. Oh, so he's like between issues. He's so stressed out from all of this that he's started smoking. He's like the rhyme thing. I understand. I was gilding the lily, right? Like that was it was too many affectations. Nobody wants that. But you know what's cool, Daddy-O? Smoking.
Yeah, this is not the last time we'll see Mr. Bones smoking a cigarette. In more recent comics, he's changed to cigars usually, but here in his first real run of comics, he's smoking cigarettes quite a bit.
You think he would be like a little bit more careful of his instrument?
You would think so, but I guess it's you got to call it. He'll later explain to people in some of these issues that he smokes to calm his nerves. So he's got a lot of nervous energy with that theater kid energy that he's carrying around. All right, so the next issue is in Infinity Inc. number 18. So in this story, which is titled Helix Goes to Hollywood, after causing chaos at a place called Wanda's Gourmet Deli in Beverly Hills, Penny Dreadful asks Mr. Bones, do you have to smoke that smelly cigarette? And this is when he tells her that smoking steadies his nerves. So he sort of justifies it a little bit.
Mr. Bones has like a little light anxiety, I think.
Yeah, it's a problem for him, but he gets through it using the help of the cigarettes. So I guess there is that. So in Bakersfield, which is where Lyta is being held, Tao, who's one of the members of Helix, she's watching soap operas, which I think is great. I'm join her watching some soap operas. But she's watching soap operas, and she's watching over a kidnapped Infinitor. So Lyta's been taken, but now Hector has also been taken as well. So so these two being held by a Tao from Helix, and Helix is Tao is sort of torturing them by watching soap operas. Hector is not a big fan of them, but and while she so evil, and so while she is there, she's got a lot of time on her hands. And while she's got the two of them, they don't want to watch the soap operas, but maybe they'll listen to her tell a story. So since she is left alone to babysit these two, Tao recounts Helix's origin story to them. So this is us finding out where Helix came to be and how they came to be who they were. So she tells them of a gynecologist named Dr. Love and a bunch of pregnant women who believe anything he told them. The women were afraid, but the good doctor put them all at ease with his charming bedside manner. Little did they know, Dr. Love had secretly injected all of these pregnant ladies with some kind of experimental drug. It's not real specific and clear about what the drug is, but it was experimental, and the ladies didn't know about it. One night, by a strange coincidence, 6 of the doctor's patients gave birth the same night. And of course, he was the one who chose the hospital. And the babies are born, and this is what people say about them in the issue. They are called strange looking. So these babies are they're coming into the world with people already judging them, and it's kind of a harsh way to come into the world, actually. So just keep that in mind. Helix maybe came from a place where they were sort of looked down upon in their first day on Earth. So Dr. Love tells all of the future members of Helix that he took them in because their parents didn't want them, because I guess they were strange looking.
Aww.
Tao says that he always treated them well, but they never got to meet anyone else. So really, they only knew each other and Dr. Love. And they grew up naturally, except for Baby Boom, who stopped aging when she was 5. So Baby Boom still looks like a 5-year-old, even though everybody else has aged normally. So we get to see a little bit. This is kind of the cool part in this issue, is that we get to see the different members of Helix in their different age brackets. So we get to see them as little kids, toddlers.
Look at little Mr. Bones. He's so cute.
So explain little Mr. Bones to the audio listener.
Oh, how to explain Baby Bones. He's just like a tiny little skeleton man. It's like a skeleton child. He's wearing a little pair of green shorts and a little red shirt for some like Christmas flair, I guess. And he's kind of doing the Beyonce single ladies put a ring on it gesture with his little skeleton hand. He is adorable. 10 out of 10.
Yeah, he is really cute. So we get to see a younger version of Bones, and I guess we get to see like maybe a teenage Mr. Bones. I don't know.
He does look like he's about to say, "You're not my real dad."
So this issue gives their origin story and shows them as they progress in age, which is pretty neat to see for all of these characters. So, inspired by TV clips of them, of the Justice Society. So Helix has been inspired by watching TV clips of the Justice Society, who, by all accounts to them, were just a bunch of specially powered weirdos like them. So Helix is looking at the Justice Society and they're like, well, we're no different. We are exactly the same. We are the same as the Justice Society. They have special powers and they're weirdos like us. So because they've been inspired by the Justice Society, the members of Helix fixed up fancy costumes to go with the only names Dr. Love ever gave them. And that's how they started calling themselves Helix. So that is part of how Helix became Helix. So shortly after Tao concludes her story, as she's telling this to Lyda and Heck, Obsidian, who's another member of Infinity Inc., makes his way into Helix's hideout and rescues the two of them. Helix and Infinity Inc. fight, and it results in Jade, another one of the Infinitors, coming into contact with Mr. Bones' cyanide touch. It's all very dramatic. You might get worried about Jade, but don't worry, though. Just spoiler alert, she's going to make it. So she does have a scare with the cyanide touch, but she's going to be okay. So don't worry about Jade. We're going to see her a little bit later. So this is kind of the first time we learn about the origin story of Helix, how they came into the world, who Dr. Love is. Keep that in the back of your mind. because we might meet Dr. Love.
Mm.
So stay tuned for more Dr. Love in these stories. All right, Morgan, you want to take us through issue number 26?
I can't wait, and I can't believe that they made people wait so many issues before the next appearance of Mr. Bones.
Yeah,
Give
that's
the
true.
people what they want. The next time we see Mr. Bones is in Infinity Inc. number 26 in a story titled Come Helix and High Water. The new Wildcat, Yolanda Montez, is taken by Helix's new Sharky member, Carcaro?
Yeah, I was sort of
Carcharo?
saying Carcharo.
Coach, I think that makes a lot more sense.
Yeah.
Carcharo to meet Mr. Bones, Tao, Arak, Windwalker, and Penny Dreadful. So Yolanda finds out that Carcaro is her cousin, and their mothers were both patients of Dr. Love.
Mm.
What? Twist! Oh my gosh. And like, how did he end up as like a little shark baby or like
Yeah,
a
so
turtle boy?
Carcharo is a shark man, essentially, kind of like King Shark in DC Comics, sort of like that.
Okay.
He's
Interesting.
kind of cute as a little shark
He is
baby, though.
really cute as a little shark baby. Who would give that baby away? I'd be like, listen, this is a world-class baby. I'm not giving this baby away. The Infinitors interrupt this family reunion to retrieve Yolanda, and after a battle breaks out between the two teams, once again, more battles, Infinity Inc. captures Mr. Bones.
So yeah, Mr. Bones comes into comics kidnapping Lyda. He has now been kidnapped by Lyda. So a little bit of turnabout is fair play. So Mr. Bones has now been taken in by Infinity Inc.
Twist.
I guess he's getting what is coming to him, though. He really maybe deserved this a little bit. All right, so the next issue he's going to be appearing in is Infinity Inc. number 28. And this is a story titled Mr. Bones Gonna Rise Again. And I kind of feel like I need to like say it in a real exaggerated Southern accent for that one because it's just too good. But so this is a story where Mr. Bones has been taken into custody by the Infinitors. And so this is the aftermath of that. So when Bones tells them that he needs a smoke, the Star-Spangled Kid reaches into Bones' cape to pull them out. But this was all a distraction, though, because Mr. Bones bites the arm of Star-Spangled Kid as a way to insist that they let him go. So this is a ruse that he is playing in order to get out of there. But there's no cyanide sweat affected on Star-Spangled Kid because Bones hasn't bitten through the sleeve. So that's a real technicality. If he's only bit your sleeve, you're fine. If it goes in the skin, you die.
Oof. All right.
But it's enough leverage to force Infinity Inc. to release him in order to save Kid's life. So they were like, oh, this is too close. We might as well just let him go because he could touch us with his cyanide touch and we could die. So let's just go ahead and beat the bullet and we'll just we'll let him go and be safe. So Mr. Bones attempts to flee from his captors, but Obsidian and Brainwave Jr. are able to knock him out cold. Infinity Inc. has Mr. Bones locked up at the Los Angeles Police Department's special detention facility, but a mysterious rescuer knocks out the police officer guarding him. So we'll figure out, we'll learn who the mysterious rescuer is, but it may take a while for us to get there. Meanwhile, in Helix's hideout, a coup is developing with a Sharkman Carcharo trying to assume the leadership of the supervillain team. So while Mr. Bones is out, Carcharo's like, I'm taking over as Helix's head honcho. So he's trying to oust Mr. Bones as the head of Helix. Penny Dreadful, though, tries to stop this. I think, maybe I'm reading into it, but I think Mr. Bones and Penny Dreadful might have had a thing romantically. I was sort of reading into it, but I wondered if they were like romantically inclined because there's a lot of drama between Bones and Penny Dreadful. But Penny Dreadful tries to stop this using Baby Boom's intervention, but Baby Boom is going through a change of identity. She's really trying out some new things. She's now wearing a punk getup insists on being called Babe instead of Baby Boom, and she sides with Carcharo. So Baby Boom is like, no, I'm just Babe now. Okay, that's what you're gonna call me now. It's my new brand. So Baby Boom has really undergone quite the metamorphosis in this issue.
There's a lot of look happening with Babe. I'm gonna call her what she wants to be called.
So
Baby
just
Boom, no more. It's Babe. She's got on what looks like leopard print tights. There's like a big chunky belt, and she's got on like a little crop jacket and some pearls randomly, like some pink pearls.
Yeah.
And then she's got a mohawk, and then like a black bandana, and then pink sunglasses, all of this while smoking. Also a safety pin in her ear. It's a lot. It's like she's committed to about 5 different looks in this one outfit. You can tell she's really going through it just by this outfit.
She's really trying to figure out who she is. So she's trying a lot of different things. But she is now going by Babe, and she has sided with Carcharo as the head of Helix. All right. So, Morgan, how about you take us through Infinity Inc. number 29?
Of course. So in Infinity Inc. number 29, and a story titled Situation Terminal, Yolanda, aka Wildcat, has tracked Helix down to their lair, but runs into Mr. Bones. She wisely realizes that she should be careful about him because his cyanide skin under her nails wouldn't exactly do wonders for her health. Which is a smart decision based on some of the other stuff that she's seen.
Mm-hmm.
Knowing that Carcharo wants to be reunited with his cousin Yolanda, Bones turns her in. Brutal. Carcharo uses this opportunity to take Mr. Bones down, and infighting between Helix erupts. Critter, oh no, Critter is seemingly killed, and Babe, again previously known as Baby Boone, changes her mind about Carcharo, wanting to fight for Bones instead. Oh, don't worry about Critter though. It's revealed later that he survived.
Yeah,
I
Critter's
was
okay.
really worried about Critter, to be honest. Who was going to do all their hacking? What if like every time that they need him to hack something, they were like, Critter, you have to stop ordering just giant things of milk bones to the Helix headquarters. That's how they're gonna find us. It's like a Costco size thing of milk bones. He's like, I get them for free when I hack. A showdown between Mr. Bones and Carcharo takes place, resulting in Carcharo biting Bones's leg. Uh-oh. Bones thinks that his cyanide skin killed Carcharo, but Bones has bigger concerns now because he's losing blood like crazy. I keep forgetting that he's actually not all bones.
Yeah, so this is Mr. Bones fighting a giant shark man, and the shark has bitten Bones's leg. And even though you can't really see his leg because he's just like all bone, I mean he's bone, like you can't see his skin. But he still has a leg there. So this is a big problem for him.
Oof, this is bad news for Mr. Bones, that's for sure. Beth Chapel, aka Dr. Midnight, turns out to be Mr. Bones' hero with the help of Obsidian, who provides darkness so that she can see Bones and operate on him. Beth informs everyone that Bones will survive if they get him to a hospital quickly. The Infinitors take Bones to Sunset Medical Center, where Jade, who was previously affected by Bones' cyanide touch, was taken.
Yeah,
I like the idea of them just being like next to each other, like, hey, what's up?
So previously Jade had gotten infected by the cyanide touch, so they had to send her to the hospital. She turned out to be okay. Everybody was glad that she survived. And so I guess in a twist of fate, he was affected by his own situation that kind of got him in trouble with Carcharo, and then his leg got bitten into, and he had to go to the hospital. So he's sort of in Jade's position now. But Beth Chapel, who you may have heard that name on the Stargirl TV series, who is Dr. Midnight. Beth Chapel is a doctor in these issues, and she helps Mr. Bones. She's actually kind of, I don't want to say Mr. Bones is like personal doctor, but Mr. Bones goes to seek her help for medical issues. So Beth Chapel does help him out. All right, so the next time that we see Mr. Bones is in Infinity Inc. number 51 in a story titled A Death in the Family. This issue takes place during Lyda and Heck's wedding reception. If you remember, they were engaged. They had an engagement party that kind of fell apart. Mr. Bones showed up and kidnapped one of the fiancés. Eventually, both of them. But here at the wedding, they're now getting married. Lyda and Heck, this is their wedding. And Mr. Bones is a surprise guest. So when they had their engagement party, he broke into the house and kidnapped Lyda. Now they're getting married, and he's one of their guests. So I think what happened after his leg situation with Carcharo and Dr. Beth Chapel fixed his leg up, he became friendly with Infinity Inc. And he started to befriend them a little bit. And so they started to see him as more of a hero. They didn't see him as so much of a rhyming nuisance anymore, even though he's still rhyming.
Although, as I say, he's gone back to the rhyming, because in this panel he says, toasts are nice, but I'm not joking. I don't dig parties where there's no smoking.
It's solid. It's solid.
Yeah.
So this is Mr. Bones at the wedding of Heck and Lyda. So this is a big celebration with Infinity Inc. Everybody is there. This is the big event of the season. So after losing his leg, which he did at the jaws of Carcharo, and depending on the Infinitors to save him, which they do, Bones has put a boot over his artificial leg. He's turned a corner and he's joined the good guys. Mr. Bones was initially forced to do this. Like he probably would have done it on his own, but really he was forced to do it because he was placed in the custody of Infinity Inc. In no choice of his own, but he was given over to Infinity Inc. to watch over him. But since then, he's proven himself against many foes. And Star Spangled Kid, who is now going by Skyman, because I guess he rebranded and he liked that a little better. So Star Spangled Kid, now going by Skyman. Keep that in the back of your head so you can keep up with us.
Okay. That's confusing. That's confusing.
But Mr. Bones has proven himself to Infinity Inc. as an asset and a friend to them. So Star Spangled Kid, who is now Skyman, is going to recommend that the courts take Bones and all of Helix off of probation. So maybe they've earned the ability to not be on probation anymore and to kind of go on with their lives. To which Mr. Bones replies, quote, "So there's a heart behind those stars and stripes. Put him there, Sky. No more gripes," unquote. So that is what he thinks about that. So there's a really nice moment in this issue between Mr. Bones and Skyman at Lyda and Heck's wedding. This is going to be short-lived, though, because it turns out that Mr. Bones and Skyman have walked into a trap. They find their friend. So Mr. Bones comes up to Skyman during the wedding reception. It says, "Hey, Jade wants to see you." So they both go down there to see what's going on with Jade, because Jade is hanging out with Solomon Grundy for whatever reason. Solomon Grundy is there. They have him in their custody, and Jade is kind of watching over Solomon Grundy while the wedding is going on. Probably wasn't the best idea to have the wedding where you had Solomon Grundy hold up.
Yeah, it feels like a mistake.
Yeah, that seems like an error, but this is what's happening. So they find their friend and fellow Infinitor Jade with Solomon Grundy, but Jade is trying to fight them. This is so strange. Jade is one of their friends, but Jade is trying to fight Mr. Bones and Skyman. And because Solomon Grundy has taken to Jade, he likes Jade. He'll kind of do whatever Jade says and does. Grundy is now fighting them too. So it's Jade and Grundy versus Mr. Bones and Skyman. So to help Skyman, Mr. Bones removes one of his gloves to deliver a cyanide blow to Solomon Grundy. So his intention, Mr. Bones wants to take out Solomon Grundy. So that's why he removes his glove. But of course, because Grundy isn't really alive. Technically, this is not going to hurt him. So Jade and Grundy take advantage of the glove being removed by having Grundy force Mr. Bones' hand. So Grundy takes Mr. Bones' hand and puts it on Skyman's face, which means Mr. Bones has killed his new friend, Skyman.
Oh, man.
He didn't mean to. This was not his intention. Someone else used his hand to frame him and make it look like Bones has killed Skyman, formerly the Star-Spangled Kid. So
Mr.
this
Bones
is really
just made a new friend.
this is really I actually really felt for Bones here in this issue, because he was making a lot of progress, and he seemed to really want to be part of their team. And so now things are different for him. So in his sadness, Mr. Bones pays a visit to Dr. Beth Chappell, his new friend at the Sunset Medical Center. And while he is smoking to calm his nerves there, he collapses to the floor. Dr. Chappell and her team put on gloves, which they have to prevent exposure to the cyanide touch. And they examine Bones to try to find out what is wrong with him. So they do a couple of tests on him to figure this out. So through their examination using what's called a dermoscope machine, they discover that though he suffered no bone fractures, there is some swelling in his ocular orbit. So this means that he could potentially have an injury to his right eye. So they're able to find all of this out. They kind of learn quickly that he doesn't have any fractures because they can see his bones. Like, they don't have to do a lot of testing on that.
They don't need an X-ray.
Yeah, they can see everything. So they know immediately whether or not he has any bone issues. So the one thing they do need to do in order to complete their assessment into Bones' condition is they need to use the dermoscope machine to go full power. So when they do this, something really interesting happens. It reveals Mr. Bones' flesh. We couldn't see his flesh before, but because of this dermoscope machine, we can see his flesh, and it shows them that Mr. Bones is a black man. So this is the big reveal. So we get to know a little bit about who Bones is outside or inside, or no, I guess outside the skeleton.
Outside of his insides?
Yes. Yeah. So we normally see his insides, but now we get to see his outside. So there's a really cool couple of panels where it starts with the skeleton man and then shows like his tissues, and then it kind of goes to where you can see who he really is and what he really looks like. So that's a really cool reveal into Mr. Bones and what's going on there for him. So while this is happening, Beth gets a phone call at the hospital telling her what happened with Skyman. News is starting to get around with all the Infinity Inc. members, and Mr. Bones jumps up and he makes his escape out of the hospital and hitches a ride towards Santa Barbara in search of Skyman's haters. So he realizes if Beth hears that, oh, Mr. Bones has murdered Skyman, she's going to think badly of him. And so he jumps up, runs out of the hospital because he wants to prove that he did not intentionally try to kill Skyman, that he did not intend for that to happen. He didn't want to kill his friend. And so now he's on the road hitching a ride to try to figure out who is really behind the Jade and Grundy incident. All right. So to round out this issue, as Star-Spangled Kid, actually that's part that I meant to delete and put it somewhere else. So never mind. So that is the end of the issue. Mr. Bones hitching a ride to figure out who is responsible for what happened with Skyman. So Morgan, will you take us into Infinity Inc. number 52?
Of course, yeah. It's very dramatic now.
Yes,
Mr. Bones
things are escalating.
Like any good theater kid, Mr. Bones has put on his fedora and he's ready to solve a mystery. But obviously, if he's going to go to LA, he's got to come correct. Pop those collars. Put on that fedora. You are Dick Tracy, which is, I'm sure, what he said to himself in the mirror before he left. So in this next issue, Infinity Inc. number 52, in a story titled To Love and Die in LA, the reader gets a flashback to when Mr. Bones first saw Dr. Love, or so he was told, because he was only 5 seconds old, which I at first read as 5 years old. And I was like, oh, that's probably it's a little hard to remember when you're 5, but 5 seconds you're not going to remember anything.
Yeah, that's pretty young.
So Bones goes through the history of Helix and how, after learning what Love did to them, the gang voted for Bones to be the one to execute Dr. Love. Nice that Helix had some democracy. They're like, listen, guys, we all got to get on the same page here before we do our executing. Obviously,
Baby Boom would be too much of a show. Might give them away. Too much residue and evidence left behind. But Mr. Bones, he can kind of do it, and it's real simple and easy.
Yeah, you don't want to send Critter to go do that. That's for sure. With his dog face, but his human hands. So Mr. Bones took Dr. Love out to a desert to kill him with his cyanide fist. But Bones let him escape after Dr. Love pleaded for his life. To hide the truth, Bones told the rest of Helix that he had gone through with the murder and that Dr. Love was dead. Because Dr. Love was actually still alive at the time, it's revealed that he is the mysterious rescuer who got Mr. Bones out of jail back in Infinity Inc. number 28. You didn't think it was going to come back around, but we've solved that mystery.
Cliffhanger solved.
Oh my goodness. Mr. Bones is now trying to investigate why someone would want to frame him and use his poison to off his old pal Skyman. Infinity Inc. and Mr. Bones have the same idea to go upstate to the facility where the rest of Helix is being held. There, the Infinitors meet the doctor in charge of the hospital and Helix patients, a Dr. Raymond Lamour.
That last name.
Lamour. The Amour. Later, Dr. Lamour will reveal that his real name is Dr. Amos Love and that he has control of Helix's actions, resulting in a fight breaking out between the Infinitors and Helix. Who could really foresee that Dr. Lamour would also be Dr. Love? So
only if you parle français. Français.
That's a Lamour. When Mr. Bones appears, he convinces the members of Helix to stop fighting so they won't be made into killers like he has been. Dr. Love tries to coerce Helix to kill Bones because he has betrayed them, but it appears this order causes whatever was controlling them to break that spell, and Helix uses their combined powers to kill Dr. Love instead. Yeah, like, obviously Helix are besties from the womb, you guys. Like, you can't. That's not gonna work. They're not gonna, like, you're best friends with Babe, right? And you've signed off on her weird new look. Like, you're not turning on her. Since Helix helped to save the Infinitors, they let them go, but because Bones is still the prime Skyman murder suspect, Infinity Inc. can't let him go. Sadly, Helix still feels like Mr. Bones chose Infinity Inc. over them, and they abandoned Mr. Bones, telling him that he isn't one of them anymore. Oh, you guys, that's not nice. Those are his best friends. Oh my God, he's crying a little tear down his little bony face.
I actually really feel for Mr. Bones here. He has tried to keep this group together his whole life, and they're these outsiders that would be shunned by the rest of the world, and here he is being ousted from them. It's heartbreaking.
That's brutal. You told me that we were going to go on like a journey of emotion, and I don't know that I thought it was going to get this deep, but like I really feel for Mr. Bones here. Like, those are his best friends since he was a baby, since he was a little baby Bones.
And it's breaking everyone up. Like Penny Dreadful's crying, Bones is crying. It's devastating, I think, for all of them.
Everyone's so sad. Like, guys, like, maybe you just need a little break from each other, but that doesn't need to be forever. Let Bones grow in a different direction.
New Rachel has a good question. Are Mr. Bones' tears made of cyanide too? Oh, that's a really good question. I don't know.
Maybe.
Could be.
Mr. Bones is a dangerous person.
Yeah. Ugh, must be hard to be Mr. Bones.
Poor Mr. Bones. Well, after that devastating loss, that his Helix family has denounced him. Mr. Bones maintains his innocence in Skyman's death, and Infinity Inc. allow him to pursue the truth to find the real bad guys behind it. So at least Infinity Inc. is being kind of nice to him. I mean, he's just really gone through something.
Yeah, he's found a little bit of a new family, although I think he would do anything for those Helix members. But Infinity Inc. has really taken him in, even despite what's happened with Skyman. They've still got to figure out if it was all Bones or if somebody else was behind it. So we are coming to the end of our storyline here of
Ooh.
Mr. Bones and his time with Helix and Infinity Inc. So to wrap up our storyline about Mr. Bones, here we have now come to the conclusion in Infinity Inc. number 53. In a story titled Death When It Must Come, it's revealed that the supervillain team Injustice Unlimited is behind Skyman's death. So these are the people who are actually responsible for Skyman dying, using a character known as Harlequin to pose as Jade. So the Jade that they encountered with Solomon Grundy was not the real Jade. It was this character I had never heard of, Harlequin, not Harley Quinn. But prior to Harley Quinn, there was a Harlequin in the Injustice Unlimited supervillain team. So she is actually
quite an outfit she's got on.
Yeah, she's something else. Yeah, she can disguise herself and pose as other people. So she's a little bit of a kind of a shape-shifting kind of a character. So she's the one who actually was in there with Solomon Grundy posing as Jade. So that's how that went down. So in a similar situation as before, Solomon Grundy picks up a Bones' hand. So there's another fight that breaks out.
Oh no.
And Solomon Grundy picks up Bones' hand, ready to use it on a Nuklon. So Solomon Grundy got Bones' hand, cyanide hand touch in his hand, and he wants to use it to kill Nuklon, who's one of the Infinitors. When Jade steps in and orders him to put it down. So this is the real Jade. So it gets a little confusing because confusion arises when Harlequin once again poses as Jade, and Grundy can't decide because now there are two Jades to listen to.
Oh no.
So one is telling him to put it down. Harlequin wants to have Nuklon get killed. So there are two Jades. Solomon Grundy doesn't know what to do. When the real Jade proves herself, Grundy goes after Harlequin, but doesn't kill her. That's important to note, thanks to Jade's intervention. So there's kind of a replay of what happens with Skyman earlier in the story. This time, though, Nuklon is okay, and he doesn't die at the hands of Mr. Bones' hand, I guess. So now that Infinity Inc. has found Skyman's real killer, they embrace Mr. Bones as one of them. And Wildcat even tells Mr. Bones, quote, "You're not as bad as everyone says," unquote. So that is the story of Mr. Bones and his time with Infinity Inc. and Helix. And this is very much tied to what we might see. I don't know for sure, but what we might see in Stargirl Season 3. So Stargirl Season 3 starts August 31st. We're actually recording this episode and doing a live stream the day before the premiere. And this season hopefully will feature more of Keith David as Mr. Bones. Now, Morgan, I'm curious, now that we've seen and read through the Helix origin and Infinity Inc. and all of those storylines, what do you think or what do you hope might happen when Mr. Bones shows up on Stargirl?
Oh, I mean, there's just so much to hope for. I'm not current on Stargirl. I just started season 2, so I've got a little bit of a journey ahead of me to catch up. But I just hope that they really utilize Mr. Bones. I hope he's got like a nice cigarette or a cigar, perhaps. Treat yourself, Mr. Bones. Get that cigar. I hope that he wears a lot of snazzy little suits and like sharp little ties. Like the tie is a pop of fun. He can have fun with the tie. The suit has to be sharp. The tie could be fun. I hope that I think that some of these storylines could be kind of fun to bring into the Stargirl universe. Like maybe two characters are dating each other, and at a dramatic part, he kidnaps somebody. I don't know. I'm just workshopping it. Maybe he's got a friend who's a dog computer hacker. I sincerely hope that's the case now. Honestly, if we could get some of Helix in there, that would be great because seeing that on screen would be wild. Do they have the budget for a dog hacker? Do they have the budget for a shark man? I don't know, but I would love to see it. Let's get weird baby Boom in her punk outfit in there.
I don't even know if they
now.
have. I don't even know if they have budgets for baby Kangas. I don't know.
I don't think they do.
We'll see. But yeah, I hope that we get to at least maybe hear about other members of Helix because Helix was mentioned. That's how I kind of thought Bones would come in. That was sort of giving me like Bones vibes is the mention of Helix. We did get to meet, I believe it was a Nurse Love at the end of Stargirl season 2. So there is someone connected. I don't know if Dr. Love will be there, but there is I think her name was Louise Love, according to the show. So there is going to be some kind of connection with Helix and possibly somebody with the last name Love. So there is going to be that. What I would do if I was show running the Stargirl series is that it seems like a lot of season 3, according to the promos, is going to have Stargirl being trained by Starman, who used to be Star Spangled Kid, who then changed his name to Skyman because I guess everybody loves to rebrand all the time. But if I wanted to really add some dramatic emotion to the end of the season, I would probably have Stargirl develop a really close relationship with Starman over the course of her training. And then at the end of the season, I would have Mr. Bones kill Skyman.
And have the hand.
Or Starman.
The hand's coming for him.
I almost think the end of the season, the dramatic like revealing of the glove, I think has to come off. That would be how I do it. So I would have Starman be murdered by Mr. Bones at the end of season 3.
I know. I guess the question is, does Mr. Bones do it because he's a nefarious villain, or like in this arc, is he set up by someone else?
Yeah. So that could be a pretty cool twist too, because there's a lot of evil characters in the mix that could be a more evil than Mr. Bones. But I think there's a lot of ways that they could play him. So I just think that since there's a connection with the Star Spangled Kid and Starman, that's kind of what I would do. But I hope, if anything, if we get to meet or at least hear about other members of Helix.
Yeah, me too. Because those are his pals, man.
That's his family. That's the only people he's ever known.
What if you see like one episode, he's like, you can see that he's like zooming with somebody on the computer, and then like the camera turns around to the other side of the computer so you can see who he's zooming with, and it's like a dog with like kind of humanish hands. and Bones is like, I need information about this thing. And the dog is like, yeah, sure.
Look, a lot of crazy things happen on Stargirl, so I would not put it past them. And Stargirl, I think, actually has been somewhat faithful to the comic book iterations of the characters, and I think really cares about the comic book versions. So I would hope that they would be somewhat faithful to Mr. Bones and the Helix storyline in the comics. So I don't know. I'm excited. I don't want to put too much into it because I don't want to get my hopes up for all things Mr. Bones. But I think if you have Mr. Bones, I think you should take advantage of him. So I hope they do something really cool with him.
I feel like having caught up recently on Stargirl, and like I'm starting season 2, but I'm hoping to be caught up so I can like watch season 3 as it unfolds, because obviously I'll do anything for Mr. Bones. But I do feel like Stargirl is not afraid to be a comic book show. Like it's not afraid to be comic booky and like make a ton of references to different comic book characters. And I've been really enjoying that actually as I've been watching it. just like that it embraces some of the hokier parts of comic books, like, and it doesn't seem to be embarrassed by it. It's like, yes, his name was Stripesy.
And all of that is very character correct for Pat Dugan in the comics. So he is known as Stripesy. There is a Star Spangled Kid. So there are and Pat Dugan is a tinkerer with automobiles and things like that. So he's very, and he even has a son named Mikey. So there is a lot that can be connected from the comic book iterations to the TV show versions of them. So that's what's really cool, I think. And a lot of these things are pulled from these Infinity Inc. issues. So I would highly recommend, if you're interested in this stuff, there are volumes of Infinity Inc. storylines that don't even have Mr. Bones. There's just a bunch of Infinity Inc. stuff with the JSA and the Infinity Inc., the kids of the superheroes trying to prove themselves to the JSA. So those are really good reads. And some of the art is actually surprising, even though it's, much, much older in terms of age of the comics. But some of the art is really, really good. So don't dismiss it if it's an old comic. The art is pretty spectacular in these Infinity Inc. issues. So I would recommend giving them a go. I've linked all of the issues that we've talked about in the video description below, and they'll be in the audio podcast show notes. So if you want to check them out and read them for yourself, which I highly recommend, you can do that. So definitely check it out if you're interested in Infinity Inc. It was not a team I was super familiar with before doing this research for Mr. Bones, but I kind of like them now. It's a fun read, so I may try to check out more of them. Let's see. Mind the Gap has some thoughts about Sylvester, who is Starman. Sylvester might be Starman in the show because in the comics, Starman Jack Knight gave Courtney his staff. Creator James Robinson has asked the character stay retired since he ended that series. Interesting. I did not know about that. So I guess maybe they they can't name him Skyman. I don't know. But he is Starman on the show. I'm trying to see if there are any other comments or questions while we were going through the story. New Rachel asks, is the soap opera that Tao was making them watch Secret Hearts? No, that was not that would have been great if that was the soap opera that Linda Danvers is an actress on in the comics. So Supergirl, if you don't know, was a soap opera actress at one point on a TV show called Secret Hearts. But that is not the one. It was not referenced. It was just an unknown soap opera. So you could insert whatever soap opera you wanted in there. Let's see. Anything else? Mm-hmm. Yeah, I guess we've covered New Rachel. I'm not really sure if Death in the Family was before the Batman version of Death in the Family. Let's see. And try to look up the date for that. So Infinity Inc. number 51. When would that have been? Oh gosh, now I'm having to think. 51. When would that publication date be? So I guess live chat, if you want to look this up for yourself, you can. Infinity Inc. number 51 has a cover date of June 1988. So you have to let me know if that was before or after when Jason Todd died in Batman Death in the Family. So hopefully that helps somewhat answer those questions.
Actually, so more, I just looked up on Wikipedia. A Death in the Family is also a 1988 storyline in Batman. So I don't know. Maybe it was synergy.
Oh, maybe so. I would like to think that the Mr. Bones storyline maybe did it first.
Me too.
Yeah. Somebody's got to beat up Batman every now and then. Do something first.
I think that might take us to, I don't know, a little snap judgment.
We could do some Bones related snap judgments.
In the game of snap judgments, each person is presented with 2 options, but must only choose one. First instincts are recommended and explanations are unnecessary.
Okay, so our first snap judgment. Would you rather hang out with Infinity Inc. or Helix?
I have a feeling I know what Morgan's answer is going to be. I guess I would want to hang out with Infinity Inc. just because I'd want to ask all the kids like stories of growing up with their famous moms and dads. So I'd probably say Infinity Inc.
I mean, I gotta go Helix. They just seem like a fun time, honestly. They just seem like a fun like Mr. Bones is gonna be a good time. That I love dogs, and that dog can do some hacking for me. That's a win-win. I could give Baby Boom a makeover because she loves that. Like I just don't see where I lose out in that scenario.
I don't know. They seem pretty dangerous. Sometimes they fight each other, and they're all really super powerful. I feel like at least with Infinity Inc., even when things go south with them, they're just like, okay, party's over. We're all going home. So nobody really gets hurt in that situation. But yeah, Helix is definitely, it would be an interesting time for sure.
I'm taking my chances with Helix. Okay. Better branding for our girl. Is it Baby Boom or just Babe? Babe or Baby Boom?
I think for branding purposes, I think Baby Boom works better. It's got like an alliteration. It sort of matches her look. It's scarier if she wants to be a villain. I think having a menacing villainous child is very scary. So if you want to like scare people, I think that's really the way to go. I think a lot of people would be scared to, have a murderous child in their presence. So, and it also explains what she does. She's a little baby who goes boom. So I think branding purposes, I think it really fits.
I gotta agree. I think Baby Boom's a great name. It's a fun name to say. It's the name of an entire generation. So already you've got the baby boomers on your side.
Oh yeah. Oh, that's what her fans are called. Baby boomers.
Yes, I love it. No, I think she's great. She's got that really horror movie quality to her. If she stands in a hallway, like at the end of a long hallway, no one's messing with her, right?
No, you would not go near her.
No, you're not doing that. She maybe she has like a little doll or a ball in her hand. You're out. You're out.
You're running the other way.
Yeah, I think the rebrand is a mistake for Baby Boom.
I like that she as Babe is trying new things and really trying to figure it out. But Babe is not really it's not really catchy. It's not telling you what you are. I mean, maybe she's like, I'm a babe, so just call me Babe. But I feel like it needs something more. She's just kind of generic as Babe. I think Baby Boom really sets her apart.
I agree. I'm gonna say she needs to really go back to the classic version, Baby Boom classic. She can keep the new look, but the name is everything.
No, I agree.
Okay, most tragic death in Mr. Bones' story: the Black Kanga or Skyman?
Oh man, I really felt for that white Kanga when it realized that the other Kanga was dead. But for a Mr. Bones perspective, I think the Skyman death, because he did not mean to kill him. So I think that's probably what I'm gonna say is the Skyman death.
Yeah, I mean, that's tough. He just made a new friend. He doesn't do that easily. All of his friends are the same friends he's always had, and honestly, it is hard as an adult to make new friends. I'm gonna be honest. Like, it's hard to get out there and be like, hello, it's me, a giant skeleton man, and I would like to be your friend. But he did that, and he made new friends, and then he accidentally killed one. So that is that is sad. However, nothing really got me in the heart like seeing that little white Kanga over the body of his Black Kanga brother, friend,
maybe.
Whatever. Terrible, just terrible. So I gotta go with the Black Kanga. That was brutal. That just really hit me in the heart.
Yeah, that is really tough because that little Kanga didn't know what was going on.
It It was just trying to protect its new owner.
Yeah, it didn't know that there was a cyanide touch associated with that hand. It was just trying to act in defense of Lyda, who probably could have defended herself, and that Kinga should have stayed alive. But the history has happened, and we cannot take it back. And that little baby Kinga died sacrificing his life to save Wonder Woman's daughter. So heartbreaking stuff, but a good overall storyline for Mr. Bones. So thank you for making the Snap Judgments.
No judgments on your Snap Judgments.
All right. Well, I hope you feel like you have gone on a journey into the life and times of Mr. Bones and really discovered who he is and what he's about. And I hope maybe you feel like you've learned something, maybe take some knowledge into Stargirl season 3, and you're gonna be like, yes, I know about Mr. Bones. This is very exciting. So I hope it makes you feel like Stargirl season 3 is going to be more rewarding now that you know this great character. In my opinion, one of the all-time great DC Comics characters, Mr. Bones. So I guess at this point, that's going to end our discussion about Mr. Bones, but we need to get to some DC TV podcasts and Supergirl Radio plugs.
If you would like to contact Supergirl Radio, you can post a comment on our website at supergirlradio.com. You can email us at supergirlradio@gmail.com. If you'd like to leave us a voicemail, you can call us at 678-718-7252. You can like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter and Instagram, all at Supergirl Radio. You can listen to us on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, Google Podcasts, Radio Public, Podchaser, and Spotify, where we also have a Spotify playlist that includes music featured on and inspired by the CW's Supergirl TV series. We are listed on DC's fan page, which you can find at dccomics.com/DC-fans. If you like what we do, we encourage you to give us a rating and write us a review on Apple Podcasts. If you enjoy our Supergirl Radio live streams, make sure to subscribe to the DC TV Podcast YouTube channel and hit that notification bell to get notified when we go live and wired. DC TV Podcast also has a TeePublic store, so if you're in need of new DC TV related t-shirts, tank tops, sweatshirts, onesies, mugs, notebooks, pillows, or stickers, go to supergirlradio.com and click on the TeePublic store link at the top of the page.
Supergirl Radio is part of the DC TV Podcast Network, so if you also like The Flash, Legends of Tomorrow, Black Lightning, Titans, Doom Patrol, Batwoman, Stargirl, Superman and Lois, and the upcoming Green Lantern, Justice League Dark, and Strange Adventure shows, and DC TV After Dark, you can subscribe to the DC TV Podcast Mega Feed on Apple Podcasts. Follow at DC TV Podcast on Twitter, and like DC TV Podcasts on Facebook, or else. This has been a message from Hope, inhabiting the Flash vessel, also known as New Rachel.
I really miss Hope the AI.
Me too. God bless her. I hope she's somewhere out there planning to kill Supergirl. I have not given up. And since we talked about Mr. Bones in this episode, who will later become director of the DEO, we have some DEO designs in the DC TV Podcast TeePublic store that we would like to suggest to you.
So if you are interested in the Department of Extra Normal Operations and the character journey where Mr. Bones really kind of becomes more of a hero, he joins kind of a corporate structure, I guess. He joins the workforce at the DEO. So if you want to show your Director Bones love and the DEO and your support of the DEO, we have designs in the TeePublic store for you for that. Well, we also have, if you listen to this episode, you know our plugs are super out of date. There are shows that are not happening, or maybe they were delayed, or we don't know if they're still happening, and some shows got canceled and things are not on the air anymore. And so now, even though we love our plugs, we need new ones. So here are some details about how you can participate in our plugs contest and maybe win a little something.
Supergirl Radio needs new DC TV podcast plugs, which means that we are holding another plugs contest, and we invite you to submit your recordings of how you would promote the DC TV podcast on Supergirl Radio. We want you to do that so that I do not have to do that. It's very important that you do it so I don't have to. You can be as creative as you want to be, but we do have one requirement, and that's that you need to make sure you mention all of our podcasts in the DC TV Podcast Network. And in case maybe you have forgotten what those are, I will list them like so. That's Supergirl Radio. That's the one that you're listening to right now. The Flash Podcast, Legends of Tomorrow Podcast. I hear that one's really great.
It's pretty good.
It's pretty good. The Lituation Room, DC on HBO Max Podcast, which maybe one day will be sponsored by HBO Max. HBO Max, where I like to watch stuff. The Stargirl Podcast, Superman and Lois Radio. They're not in the Arrowverse, but we're still allowing them to be on the network. What a ring that probably threw them for, where they're like, excuse me, we're not in the Arrowverse. Green Lantern Podcast, the Sandman Podcast, Justice League Dark Podcast, and DC TV After Dark.
I hear that one's pretty good too.
That one's fine. That one's fine. That one I think is still being workshopped. So how do you get on Supergirl Radio? What you do is you email an MP3, a WAV, or an M4A to supergirlradio@gmail.com by our contest deadline, which is September 30th. We will choose the winner, and the winner will receive a prize in the mail, which will consist of Superman Family Adventures, Volume 1, DC Super Pets, Superpowered Pony, which is a story about Comet the Super Horse, and maybe also an additional surprise.
We might sneak something that you didn't expect in there.
Just might.
All right, and we would like to thank our legion of super sponsors for supporting Supergirl Radio. These people are Michael, Sam, Anne-Marie, Yvonne, Nicola, Leslie, Abby, Irma, Miriam, Nicole, Lizeth, Faith, Brian, Ethan, and Danny. We appreciate you all for supporting the Supergirl Radio Patreon. If you would like to do that, you can go to patreon.com/Supergirl Radio and check out our 4 tiers of monthly membership. And thank you all for supporting the podcast. You can find me if you would like to do so. I don't want to presume that you want to, but you can find me on social media. I'm on Instagram at the Derby Kid. I'm also on the platform, the social media platform Vero True Social, which I happen to like a lot. It's where I show what I'm watching, what I'm listening to, what books I'm reading. Sometimes if I read a book or start a book, usually is what happens. I'll start a book and then I never finish it. But you can see everything that I'm into on Vero over there. I may, they have photography challenges on Vero. So maybe in 2023, I'm going to try to take a picture every day and post it to Vero. So we will see how that shakes down. But you can follow me on Vero at Derby Kid. You can also check me out on my personal YouTube channel at youtube.com/duckmilkprod, where I live stream on Sunday evenings at 9 p.m. Eastern, reading through Batman v Superman Dawn of Justice reviews written by the top critics of Rotten Tomatoes, taking a break for Dragon Con, but almost getting to the end of these reviews. So that should hopefully be good. So if you want to hang out with me live, just like you do with the Supergirl Radio live streams, I do that on my personal YouTube channel on Sunday evenings at 9 p.m. Eastern if you would like to do so.
And you can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Mojotastic. You can also find me as a co-host on the Legends of Tomorrow podcast, where I believe we just dropped an episode where we talked about all things happening with the DC, CW, WB, HBO Max. It's a mess. It's a big mess. And so we talked about what we knew and like the news that had just come out earlier that day. It seems like the news is always kind of dropping now about what's going on with Warner Brothers Discovery. And what our next episode, we're finally going to do my winning choice from our Legends season 7 fantasy draft. Where
that's exciting! Congratulations.
Thank you. Where, like a fantasy football draft, we drafted characters from the show. And we did it all season long. We had a data person who's one of our listeners, Swarley, who would crunch the numbers for us after every episode and update us on the standings. And I took it home, obviously, because I had Sarah Lance on my team, and she's a real ringer. So I get to pick something that we watch for like a pilot pod.
Oh.
So I was trying to pick something that would be like equally a chore for Amy and Kat, but it turns out that their interests are too different. If I pick like a historical thing to punish Kat, Amy was going to be happy. If I picked like a trashy reality thing for Kat, for Amy, Kat was going to be happy. So I was like, instead of trying to punish someone, why don't I just try to enjoy myself? So we are going to. Thank you. So we're going to watch the first episode of Wheel of Time, and I think we're going to have Mike on because it's his favorite. Wheel of Time is his favorite thing ever.
Is he going to talk about the slog?
I don't think we might get to the slog. I'm apparently about to enter, maybe about to enter into it in my reading.
Okay.
Just started book 8, so TBD on the slog.
I want to hear more about the slog.
I'll keep you updated, but yeah, so that should be fun. I think we're gonna probably record that next week. So if you're a Wheel of Time fan, why not check that out? It's going to be fun. Kat's probably not going to like it, but I think Amy really will. I'm just trying to get Amy to watch the show. I'm trying to rope her in. I think Kat's probably going to be a lost cause on that one.
Yeah, Amy seems like she'd be somebody who would like Wheel of Time.
Yeah,
just from like the basic things I know about Wheel of Time.
Yeah, I feel like epic fantasy is a little bit more Amy's speed than Kat's speed.
Well, that's exciting. Any news on DC TV After Dark? Anything happening?
We are certainly thinking about our next episode. We are thinking about it. We're pondering it. We're really tossing ideas around. Still tossing. It's going to be coming soon. When is soon? Soon is really more of a state of mind, we think.
Time is all relative anyway.
Time is a flat circle. And if you just stand in one place long enough, eventually an episode will appear before you. And so that's why I always suggest subscribe to the podcast. I know sometimes you subscribe to a lot of podcasts and you're like, wow, it's really filling up my phone. We guarantee we won't do that.
That's
You're
actually
gonna be able to catch up on us real fast. So it's always a good subscribe.
Well, I'm very excited for new episodes of both shows. Highly recommend the Morgan Glennon podcast universe. Well, that is going to do it for this episode of Supergirl Radio. But until next time, I'm still Rebecca Johnson.
And I'm still Morgan Glennon. And we want it to be like Mr. Bones and end with a rhyme. Thank you for joining us. We hope you had a good time.
McGurk! I love typing.
Not mess with my Google Docs, Meeksy.
Supergirl Radio is going live every night of the week. How do you like it? Is becoming a human burrito a plus or a minus? I don't know. It does seem snug.
I mean, they say you are what you eat.
Kira.
I love that.
So I do a podcast called Supergirl Radio, and one of our segments is Lena Luthor, Boardroom or Ballroom, because
she looks like a boss in this coat.
Nasty Luthor like a different Luthor? It's not just Lena being mean?
No.
Helen Slater here. So fun to know that you're hosting a podcast called Supergirl Radio.